Well, welcome, Francis here. Thank you for coming back to my channel. If this is your first time here, I bid thee welcome. There is a subscribe button below if you would like to help support this channel by subscribing. Also a bell to be notified as to when I upload more content. I'm coming to you from Ghana country, and as such, I acknowledge the Ghana people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of the lands upon which I'm doing this recording. So this video is going to be about the new moon in Aries, which also is a solar eclipse, and it will be taking place on Saturday, the 29th of March at 9:27 p.m. here in Australian Central Daylight Savings Time. It will also be 9 degrees of Aries, which means that the sun is also 9 degrees of Aries. Not only is it a new moon and an eclipse, which I'll talk about in a moment, it's also a super new moon, meaning that in the moon's ecliptic around the Earth, it's actually close to the Earth, and this will make it appear even larger. And at new moons, we have the sun, which is our identity, what we're aspiring towards, what we hope to become, and the moon, which is where we sort of feel like home, where the heart is, so to speak, where we like to belong, so conjunct together in the sky. This eclipse will be what's called a partial solar eclipse, and will only be seen in parts of Europe, northwestern parts of Africa, the northeastern parts of North America, and also the Arctic. We won't see it here in South Australia or in the Southern Hemisphere, and it will also be the last eclipse on the Aries Libra axis, because from September onwards, we're going to start having eclipses falling on Pisces and Virgo, and this will continue until February 2027. And I'll go into that a little bit more in a moment. But Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it's all about courage and bravery and sort of starting something new, even going solo, being a pioneer, individuality, leadership, focus and clarity. Aries also tend to rush in where angels fear to tread as well. So this means that this eclipse is wanting us to embrace those qualities. And if we don't feel focused or have a lot of clarity at the moment, that's okay, because once Venus and Mercury have ended their retrogrades that they're currently in, and that will happen, say, early April, and Neptune, which is currently at 29 degrees of Pisces, tips into Aries on the 30th of March, the day after the eclipse. Then we'll start getting a little bit more clarity there. And once Venus and Mercury station direct, we will basically have all planets direct until the next eclipse season, which is September, where planets will be retrograding once again. So the planetary ruler of Aries is Mars. And I have mentioned in previous videos about Mars being in Cancer, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment as well. But this is the driving force. This is what we are being called to action, and encouraging us to sort of step into our leadership roles, even redefine our sense of who we are, because Aries is all about I am, the sense of self. So it's a good place to look at your natal chart to see where 9 degrees of Aries falls, what house. And this will also give you a bit more insight as to what's beginning to come into focus, and also areas in your life where maybe if you're into new manifestation, start looking at bringing in the more new energy there. What is quite interesting about this eclipse, similar to the last eclipse, is that we're going to have a stellium of planets and points in both Aries and Pisces this time. Stellium is, I think, when you've got 3 or more. And in Pisces, we still have Saturn, the North Node, Venus retrograding, and also Neptune until the 30th. while in Aries, we have a retrograding Mercury at 0 degrees 26 minutes. So Mercury's just moved in. We've got the moon and the sun at 9 degrees. And of course, we've got Chiron at 22 degrees 9 minutes of Aries. Coming back to Aries, it's a cardinal sign, meaning it's a gateway or a starting point, especially to the seasons. Here in Southern Hemisphere, it's the gateway to autumn. And in the Northern Hemisphere, of course, it's the gateway to spring, because the equinoxes that we've just had. It's also the starting point, and as such, 0 degrees of each of the cardinal signs, Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn, are considered to be the world axis points. And with Aries, because it's the first sign of the zodiac, being the strongest of these four. Now, Pam Gregory, who's one of the astrologers that I follow, that I sort of like gather the information together for these reports, because I'm not an astrologer. I'll link her video below, so please check it out if you're interested. But she points out that there is a 4-degree orb from 28 degrees of the previous mutable sign, so 28 degrees of Pisces, through to 2 degrees of Aries. That's the following cardinal signs. So when we are looking at Aries, if we've got planets and points that are within that degree, that 4-degree orb, as she calls it, from the 28th degree of Pisces through to the 2nd degree of Aries, this is what you're wanting to bring onto the world stage, so to speak. All about I am, what you are stepping up to, what you are presenting to the world. So coming back to this new moon, so I have mentioned, we have a Venus retrograde and a Neptune, also both within this world stage axis point of 28 degrees to 2 degrees of Aries. So this is sort of very powerful positions for them to be. And of course, along with Mercury retrograde, which is affecting communication and travel. And I know it, I've had internet issues the last few days. And also with Neptune and with Venus about unconditional love, Mercury is adding an element of reflection. When planets go retrograde, we sort of refresh, review, reflect, sort of revisit things, going back and seeing what past decisions we've made. With Mercury, it's all about the mind. So this is adding our sort of our thinking connection as well. And this is also our collective path of destiny, because it's all around the North Node. North Node is our future direction. And then we have Saturn. And Saturn's going to be bringing in the reality of everything. The realization of maybe the decisions we've made recently, as in the last 6 months, are not playing out the way that we wanted them to or envisioned them to be. Now we're having to take responsibility of them and look forward, saying, is this really the world that we want to live in? And then what can we do about it if you desire the change? So as I said, find out what this new moon and the solar eclipse means to you personally by looking at your birth or natal chart to see where 9 degrees of Aries, what house that falls into. And also whether you have any planets and points in that particular house. Start thinking about maybe the delusion that you may be feeling since the lunar eclipse last week, 2 weeks ago, when all the planets were in Pisces. And what now do you wish to bring into your life, bring into reality with this new moon? As I mentioned earlier, the planetary ruler of Aries is Mars, which is stationed direct in Cancer. But at the moment, it's what they call moving out of bounds. So it's outside the normal 23 degrees of the north or south of the ecliptic, and it will remain out of bounds until the 7th of April. This means that the energy of Mars is going to be a little bit more extreme, maybe even out of control. We're seeing the aggressive side of Mars, sort of out of control, extreme. Cancer is the moon's home sign. So this is also that sort of extreme element being connected with the home, sort of challenging us and our need to feel safe, protected, emotionally as well as physically safe and protected. So you might want to start thinking about how safe do you really feel, and looking at your boundaries and looking at what you can do to enhance those things, especially when it comes to relationships as well. Mars is trine to Saturn, indicating more sort of longer term realistic idealisms are coming in to be grounded. So moving from this emotional direction into practicality, listening to our sensations, coming back into the body, especially with this overarching sort of Piscean energy, which is actually all about unconditional love. So again, it's giving us the opportunity to look, especially at the direction that we're heading into. How does that resonate with us? Is this truly the direction that we're wanting to head into? Now, this trine also includes the North Node, a retrograding Venus, and also Neptune, and is a sextile to Uranus, which is at 24 degrees 2 minutes of Taurus. So Uranus, and I've mentioned this before, sort of brings in sort of like shocking surprises or revelations, things that we weren't sort of anticipating, didn't realize, and sort of like shakes us up. It's also connected with electricity. And Taurus is earthing it. It's about structures as well. And again, we're seeing shocking revelations, surprises, things that we hadn't thought about coming in and coming in, especially at our structures. Maybe it's not necessarily a bad idea, but sometimes it's shaking things up because we're getting a little bit too complacent, or maybe we've taken things for granted. But don't forget, this is also the role of the North Node, because it's reminding us of the direction that we are heading into. And sometimes we need to sort of shake things up in order to start moving, especially as a collective, towards a direction that we truly believe in. And then we've got this Uranian energy also attributed to unexpected breakthroughs, the realizations that this is what we need to do in order to make things happen, even if we're not able to see the end result as well. So sometimes we just got to trust and go with the flow. Mars is also in a tight square, so that's 90 degrees, with Chiron, which of course is the wounded healer, which is 22 degrees of Aries, and as well as the asteroid Eris, which, according to mythology, is the sister of Aries or Mars, and as he was known in the Romans. And they are both in Aries. It's I am. So Chiron is indicating that this is where our wounding can be found, especially in the I am, our identity. And when we embrace Chiron's gift or the key, this can be actually turned around into maybe a leadership role. However, we've got this sort of uncompromising revolutionary energy of Eris also being energized with Mars. So it's almost like we're beginning to realize that in order to get things done, we need to do it ourselves, and there's no compromise. We've had enough of compromises. So added to that, we've also got Mercury being sextile to Pluto, which enables us to sort of think a little bit more deeper about our community, humanitarianisms, and also freedom. These are sort of like shaking things up. Pluto is about deep transformation that will help us break free, sort of shed our old identities that are outdated, no longer serves us, and enables us to sort of step into, and more importantly, integrate and embrace the new. So on the day after the eclipse, on the 30th of March, so said Neptune is going to move into Aries, which will be a start of another 165-year cycle. And it was around about 1861 since Neptune was in Aries last. So this is all about taking our spiritual inspiration and adding it to an Aries drive, passion of turning dreams into reality. It's also about being truly authentic in our own selves, our I am, and also our spiritual visions, which will mean walking our talk. And there's a connection with the solar eclipse back in October last year in 2024, which was in Libra, because that was all about partnerships with others. And now we are being called to address areas in our own lives in relation to our own personal power, stepping into it, owning it, or even taking it back, considering where we stand in these relationships. And as we are seeing on the global stage, when we utilize our personal power from a place of ego, what is the flow and effect? We're not individuals, we're not isolated. Everything we do connects in with everybody else. So remember, power comes with great responsibility. And maybe this is why, even on a subconscious level, people tend to readily hand over their power because they simply do not want to take responsibility, self-responsibility. Yet when we hand over our power to someone else, especially if that person is not coming from heart-centered or operating from a higher place of highest good for all, our inaction still plays a contributing fact. And this is something that really we should think about as well. Okay, so at the beginning of this video, I mentioned that the new moon is also a supermoon. As I said, this means that the moon is closer to the Earth during its ecliptic. And throughout the year, we're going to have 5 such supermoons. 3 of them will be at the end of the year. And this moon will actually be the closest to the Earth of all 5, so the second closest to the Earth of 5. So there we are. We have a super new moon, lunar eclipse in Aries, wanting to push us forward into taking probably more leadership, looking at who we are becoming, asking us to come from that place of compassion from the heart. And as we step into the new, what is driving us? Is it from the heart or from outdated, self-absorbed ego? And don't forget that the very nature of eclipse energies is that they tend to be chaotic and do not go to plan. So just before I go, just want to mention that on Sunday, the 6th of April, will be my next online live presentation through the College of Psychic Studies in London. We're going back to Egypt and looking at Abydos, star portals, and the resurrection of Osiris. And in the 3-hour-long presentation, we'll be exploring the mysteries of this temple, the resurrection myth of Osiris, as well as visiting the mysterious Assyrium, which is located behind this temple, which is considered to be a lot older than the temple that we see standing today, which has been reported to be built by Seti first. There'll also be a guided meditation to take us out to the star portals. And as with all the other presentations I've done through the College of Psychic Studies, it will be recorded. So if the time zone doesn't work for you, I think you've got 3 months to go through your student portal to check out the presentation. And I'll put the link below, as well as to the astrologers whose work I have utilized for this presentation. So big breaths. We have another eclipse coming through. And I think, as I mentioned last time, this is something that Pam Gregory also mentions, we do feel the energies of these eclipses up to 6 months out. I do personally find solar eclipses a little bit more chaotic than lunar eclipses. So I'm just going to breathe. I've finished off redoing mala. I do find that I have to restring my mala every couple of years because I just wear it out. And it stretches. So I've already done it. I'm very happy with it. So I'll be chanting a few mantras to make sure that I come into that heart space. So take care and see you again soon. Blessings.